If you are on Discord, feel free to ask it in the members talk channel, or if you are on YouTube or any other platform, feel free to post in the comment section and I will be able to see it here. Let's do it. So on US 500, we already know from last week, we had this resistance zone, and then I posted that we rejected it, then we are here. If we break it downward, we'll be expecting further bearish movement downward. So we have been following US 500 from here, and so on. So now, rejected this resistance, we traded lower, and as mentioned, like last week for those who were here, that I'm speculating a bearish movement from here and then a rejection from around this area to finally break above this last major new high, and then finally we can say that now we are bullish. We would be breaking above this falling broadening wedge and so on. But for now, as usual, let's take it step by step. We broke below the 3.9k support, so it's now acting as a resistance. So if we trade higher, this would be a resistance zone. For now, we traded higher, rejected it, and we are currently trading lower for another bearish impulse movement downward. First, we have this impulse breaking below these lows, we had the correction, and we are currently pushing lower. The next impulse might end around this key rejection support. As you see, it's a minor one, but we've got multiple rejections from here. Even if we extend it to the left, we can see this low, or if broken downward, in this case a movement till this low, and so on would be expected. But I'm speculating a rejection from around this area. If we zoom into lower time frames to H4, we can see that we are currently stuck inside this range, just like previously we were inside this range between this support and this resistance. Currently, we are between this previously support, now a resistance, and this support zone. As you can see, that's why you see my alert right here to know when we are approaching this support zone. If you zoom into H1 time frame, we lately or like a couple of hours ago, we broke below this low. We might have a retest and then we trade lower again. So this is basically it. I can't really say much because we are choppy. So unlike previously where we have been trading US 500 upward and downward multiple times, right? Bulls take over, bears take over, and lately bears took over and broke below this 3.9k support because the bulls didn't take over here, just like previously here and here and here as well, right? So that's the power of waiting for extra confirmation around the support zone. We didn't have a rejection, we didn't have the buyers kicking in here, so we kept or we remained bearish, and then we broke below this 3.9k. So that's it. I can't really say much as mentioned, but like slightly bullish, slightly bearish, but we are inside a big range. Again and again, I'm expecting a bearish movement till here, and then around this area, if we see any kind of reversal, a break above the high, we'll be expecting the bulls to kick in. That's it for US 500. Let's move forward to the XY. On the XY, on the other hand, as mentioned also, you can also check my ideas here on, you can check my ideas here on TradingView. You can scroll down and see it all. So on the XY, as mentioned previously, we have been around this demand zone right there. That's also a support area, previously a resistance, now turned support. Also this demand zone, making the zone even stronger. We can reject it from here, or we can dive inside it before we trade higher. How do we know? We zoom into lower time frames. If we zoom into daily time frame, can't really say much because I have them here from H4. So we have been bearish, low lows and lower highs, and inside this big impulse movements, now the price is going flat, which means or give us an early alert that a potential reversal might happen soon. Because previously we had big impulse like this, and now they are going, as you can see, flat, right, and smaller in size. Even though we are still bearish, managing to make lower lows and lower highs, but the lows are getting weaker and weaker, the bears are getting weaker. Now for the bulls to take over from a short-term perspective, or to be an early alert that the bulls are taking over, we need to see a break above this high. Once we have this break, we'll be expecting a slight bullish movement, and then for the bulls to take over or like to take full control, we need to see a break above the 105.8 around this area. If we break it upward, we'll be expecting further bullish movement. Further bullish movement till where? Till around this resistance zone. It would be a massive zone around here, support and resistance, now a resistance of course, lining up with this trend line, intersecting with this entire big area. So I'm speculating this movement and then a rejection to form the next impulse movement downward of this structure. Impulse, correction, and then the next impulse to push the price lower. For now, and until the bulls take over here, we can still go lower a little bit, form a new high, and then break it upward for the bulls to take over and start this big correction movement upwards. So that's it for the XY as well. So as you can see, the situation is not looking good. US 500 bearish, the XY around the demand, and so on. So it's not looking good. If we check USDT dominance to feel the crypto market, very similar scenario. For the bears to take over here and to see a bullish movement in the crypto market, we need to see a break below this high. We'll see it better anyway in a bit. Now expecting price to dive inside this resistance before we push lower, which you can clearly see from these two areas. It's a big area. As you see, this is the upper bound of the area, so we might still trade inside it before we trade lower. How do we know? We zoom into lower time frames, right? Let me take a sip. Cheers. Here we go. So that's it. If you zoom into H4, this is our last low, and I also had it anyway better from H1 time frame. This is the zone I was waiting for. A full candle close below. It didn't happen, as you see. We had a wick, and then we traded higher again. Instead, we broke above these highs, so the bulls now took over. Now, or like a couple of hours ago, we had a retest and we are now trading higher. So I'm expecting something like this till around the upper band, or even it would be even better if we dive inside the zone as I showed you from daily time frame inside it. Then we'll be expecting a bearish reversal from here. That's it for USDT dominance. What we know so far is that we are bullish. For the bears to take over from a short-term perspective, we need to see a break below this current last low. If we go higher, we need to see a new low form and then break below it for the bears to take over. We might be able now to draw a channel if we trade lower and higher and form something like this. For now, that's our last low. If broken downward, the bears would take over. From a medium-term perspective, for the bears to take over, we need to see this break below this area. So here we have a short-term low lining up with this high, and then here we've got this big structure or big range, which is in the shape of a head and shoulders, or we might also have a double top before we finally break it down. And even if we break it downward, it wouldn't be wouldn't be a full reversal, right? Because if you break it downward, we'll be facing this support zone, a demand zone, previously a support, resistance, now a support, and so on. So which is this one, which if you zoom out to daily, this is the support, which is a very clean one from daily time frame. So let's move this one aside, and that's it. Okay. I'm expecting a slight bullish movement till these highs. If we break these highs upward, it wouldn't be good. Expect further bullish movement if and only if we break above the 8.85%. Hello guys, hope you're doing good. Happy to see you here. Okay, let's move forward to Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin daily time frame was still bearish from a long-term perspective, and as mentioned last week, if you remember, we do have a potential bullish scenario if and only if we break above this high. And the possible scenario would be an impulse correction, impulse forming a higher high, impulse correction. We are currently here. Let's see if we will have this impulse movement forming a higher high, diving inside this area, higher high before the next impulse movement push the price lower. Let's delete everything for now, and that's it. Okay, so this is a potential bullish scenario from a medium-term perspective, and then the bears would take over, lining up with the overall bearish trend. Or we might be pushing lower from here if we break below this low, which we are currently approaching. Anyway, I'll show to you from lower time frames, but this is just for the bigger vision. A correction after this big impulse, a correction. We might have this before the next impulse push price lower to be lining up with the lower bound 12k lower trend line orange and so on. So this would be a massive zone if we reach it to look for buy setups. For now, we are slightly bullish inside this range. If you go to H4 time frame, can't really say much. We are stuck inside this range, just like last week. And if you notice, I haven't changed anything from last week. I have a separate layout for these sessions for it to be a good practical example. So we update the charts together in a practical way. So we're currently sitting around this zone. If we break it downward, it wouldn't be good. Expect further bearish movement. I have my other alert or next alert here around the lower bound of this zone. For the boost to kick in now, we have two possible scenarios, just like USDT dominance. If you remember, this is it, a short-term one and a long-term and a medium-term one. Exact opposite for Bitcoin, a short-term one where I have my alert, and a medium-term one where I also have my alerts. For the boost to take over from a short-term perspective, we need to see this break. Then we'll be expecting this movement, and then we need to see this break for the bulls to take over from a medium-term perspective, and then I'll be expecting something like, if we break above this, of course, something like this. This, a higher high, to finally make one more correction, before the bears take over again and push the price lower. But for now, we might still be going down from here, especially if we break below this low. If you go to H4 time frame, we can clearly see it. If we break below the orange zone, in this case, further bearish move would be expected till around this area. Of course, it's an entire zone, so you could also make it like a little bit higher like this, right? So around this area, and I'll be looking for bus stops here. That's why I have my alert here. And if we break it downward, it wouldn't be good. Expect then further bearish movement till the lower bound of the channel. That's it for Bitcoin. Sorry. For Ethereum, a very similar movement. This is our midway zone. We rejected our midway support and resistance. For example, now, of course, it's a resistance. Okay, because it was acting as support previously, now broken downward again. So we tested it and retested this little low, this little high, right? So it's also a minus point resistance. We rejected it and we are trading lower. If we break below this blue one, expect further bearish movement till around the 1K zone. Lately, we formed this if you want to call it a triangle or a wedge pattern and so on. And we broke this low downward. We made a classic retest as a wick, and we are currently trading lower. For the bulls to reclaim this resistance, we need to see a break above it. In this case, further bullish move would be expected till around this supply zone. For now, we are bearish. If we go a little bit higher, it would be a correction before the bears take over again. And as mentioned, if we break this one downward, expect a movement till the 1K zone. Okay, that's it for Ethereum. And of course, you can even, if you want, zoom into lower time frames and see it even better. Broke below these lows, traded higher, and so on. So this is basically it. I can't really say much here. We are currently in the middle of nowhere. I want a break above this for the bulls to take over, or a break below this for the bears to take over and push the price lower again. That's it. Let's move forward to NWC. So last week we had an aggressive movement upward, rejected this resistance, and we traded lower. Hello Ace, hope you're doing good. And we also got Talent Vision. Happy to see you here. If you have any questions anytime, feel free to ask it in the members talk or in the comment section of YouTube or any platform, and I would be happy to answer all your questions. For NWC, we are currently diving inside this demand zone, which we spotted from weekly time frame from 0.02 to 0.05. And for the boost to reclaim control now, we need to see a break back above this gray area, above the 0.055. Last week, we had an aggressive movement upward, as you clearly noticed. We broke above these with one candle, of course, and we traded higher. Okay, we rejected it, traded higher, rejected this resistance again, and also the upper trend line, as you can see in red, which is covering this entire bearish trend. For the bulls to take over again, from a short-term perspective, we need to see this break, and then from a long-term perspective, we need to see this break. It would be breaking above the channel, above the last major high, above this entire range, and so on. Then we'll be able to say that we are now bullish again. For now, we are bearish, trading inside the zone, especially that we broke lately below these lows. So I would like to see the bulls breaking back above the 0.055 to reclaim control. Then we'll be able to trade higher. Okay, so now and as usual, I have a big list, so I'll try to go over them all by order. If you would like me to go over a specific one, please let me know in the members talk or in the comments, and I would be happy to do it. For now, I'll be going over the list one by one. Okay, let me see if Joseph is here. Okay, he's not here. Joseph, when you're watching the recording, this is your Galatasaray. As mentioned previously multiple times, we were stuck here for a couple of weeks. That we'd like to see the bulls breaking above this area for them to take over, and we finally have had the break. We broke it upward and we traded higher. We also had a retest. So now we have a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish, finally, yes. And when we retested, it would be a correction. So it's an impulse correction, and then we'll be expecting the next impulse to push the price higher. So as we retest this area, for those who didn't buy yet, we'll be looking for buy stops here on lower time frames for extra confirmation to look for this next bullish impulse movement upwards. For seed, for dear boss Mac, let's wait a minute. Maybe my connection is weak. Okay, so for seed, as mentioned last week, Mac, unfortunately we broke below this, which I didn't like. If you go to weekly, we are now bearish. We have been bullish previously, now we are bearish. So every bullish movement now would be a correction before the next bearish impulse movement push the price lower. And we would remain bearish until or unless we break above this last high. Now, since we traded lower, I can even make this one a little bit lower to cover these ones. So for us to trade higher, I would like to see a break above this 12.5. If we break it higher, we'll be expecting a bullish movement. For now, we are bearish and we'll be expecting something like this. As we approach this 5 support, demand, and so on, we'll be looking, of course, for short-term buy setups. But from a long-term perspective, I'm still waiting for a break above this last high, which now I made it a little bit lower. Okay, on CHZ, we are currently approaching this previous major low. We have a demand zone right here. If we go to daily time frame, can't really say much except that we are approaching the 0.1 round number. Make it one a little bit higher. Let's go for 8.5. Yeah. So inside the zone, around these lows, demand zone, and so on, round number, we'll be looking for buy setups, except if we break it downward, then expect further bearish movement till around the 0.05, which is also a round number, and a demand zone. Let's make it in blue. Fantastic. So you know what? Let's see this one. It's annoying. And this is like for the boost takeover from a long-term perspective. That's also related to keep it clean and move it aside. That's it. For now, around the 0.1, we'll be looking for buy setups. If we zoom into H4 time frame, we have been bearish since like since late December or since the beginning of December, and we have been bearish. We have this big impulse and now it's going flat. For the boost to take over now, we need to see a break above the previous last high, which is around this area. If we extend this one like this, that would be it. So falling broadening wedge, last major high. If we trade higher from here, break them both above this trend line, above this orange zone. In this case, the bulls will take over and we'll be expecting a bullish movement. For now, we are bearish. We might still trade lower, form a new high like this, and then we will update our zone to become this high and we'll be buying on this break upward. For now, let's take it step by step. We are currently here. That's our last high. Wait for a break above it for the bulls to take over. Okay, let's move forward. Next, we've got Matic. We have been stuck inside a big range, as you clearly see, and we are currently approaching the lower band of it. This is all the lower band, as you see from these rejections, right? So we'll be looking for buy setups. Sorry, starting from here, knowing that we can dive inside the zone before we trade higher, unless we break the 0.62 downward. In this case, further bearish movement would be expected. But for now, around the support, we are looking for buy setups. For the boost to take over, we need to see a break above the last major high, which is currently here. This is why you see my alert right there. Meanwhile, we are bearish and we can still go lower, make a new lower high, and then break this new high upwards for the boost to take over, of course. Okay, on ADA. So we are still trading lower. We have a massive demand zone right here for the boost to take over. We need to see a break above the high, but for now, let's make this one in blue for them to be the same color. So this is the 0.1 round number, a demand zone, support, previously resistance, now support, and so on. So if you go to daily time frame, are still trading inside this long-term bearish channel. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I still need to see a break above the last high, which is currently here, or form a new high and then break it upwards. In this case, I'll be updating my zone. For now, it's here, and now I'm looking for a buy from a short-term perspective by breaking above this short-term high or a small correction movement upwards. Or of course, meanwhile, we are bearish and we can still trade lower till around this demand zone where I also have an alert. If you go to H4 time frame, that's it. Can't really say much. This is our last high, which I showed you from H4. For the bulls to take over, we need to see this, and then we'll be expecting a shorter bullish movement upward. Meanwhile, we can still trade lower, break below this previous low, and we'll be expecting further bearish movements. If you go move forward to Atom, can't really say much around the support zone. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see a break above this high. And if we break below this 8.5, expect further bearish movement. It would be the previous low, a support zone, broken downward, and so on. So it wouldn't be good for Atom if we break below this 8.5. From a short-term perspective for the bulls to take over, I want to see a break above this high. Of course, the bulls are already in control from a short-term perspective after breaking above this high, and you can clearly see it, higher highs, higher lows, right? You can even draw a channel like this, make an offset for it, that's it. Of course, if you break downward, we'll be expecting a movement till the 8.5, which we can also look for buy setups around, unless it's broken downward like this. for now, for the bulls to take over from a medium-term perspective, and or like if you want to say to remain in control, we need to see a break above this the 9.35, 9 points, around this area. Then we'll be expecting a bullish movement, and as mentioned from daily, for the bulls to take over from a medium-term perspective, I would like to see a break above this last major high. If you have any questions, let me know in the members talk area. Algo, also can't really say much, no much updates. Diving inside this big demand zone, as you see here, previously a support, also a demand, and round number 0.1. If you go to daily time frame, that's it. We broke below the support, we rejected it, and we are currently trading lower. I was waiting for the bulls to take over by breaking above this high. It didn't happen. Let's delete it. And then we had this high. It didn't break above it. So nothing to mention so far. From a short-term perspective, I have my alert as you see here, right there. So this is the last minor high. So if we break it upward, we'll be expecting a short-term bullish movement. But then for the bulls to remain in control, I would like to see a break above the 0.2 and this trend line right there. Because we can still trade higher, reject this area, and then trade lower again. Okay, that's for Algo. Cheers. On Sushi, very similar scenario. Around the lower bound of this big range. And that's it, around the demand zone from weekly, lower bound of the range from daily, looking for buy setups, and that's it. Round number 1, waiting for a break above the 1, and that's my alert right there, above this high. Okay, it would be like an inverse head and shoulders pattern, right? So if we break it higher, we'll be expecting a bullish movement. That's it. If you have any questions or specific altcoin, let me know in the comment section. Okay, on Ape, can't really say much. We have a demand zone here, round number 1, 2.5. If you go to daily, we rejected the 2.5, traded higher, while still bearish trading inside this big channel in orange. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I would like to see a break above the 4.5 and above this area. In this case, we'll be expecting a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish because we are currently forming lower lows and lower highs. So I would like to see a break above this channel, above the last major high, which would be here around 4.5, 4.6. Meanwhile, this is just an impulse movement to push price lower, just like previously here and here, especially that we broke below this low. So we might go a little bit higher and then push it downward. That's why I would like to see this break to prove to us that the buyers are strong enough to break above the zone. If you go to H4, can't really say much. As mentioned, we are currently in a correction after this impulse. If we break it downward, expect further bearish movements, or I would like to see a break above the 4.6 for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective. On Link, we have a resistance here, turn support, around 5 round number, a very strong one, and also a big range, very similar to Sushi, the one that we saw, and now approaching the lower band of this range. That's why we are looking for buy setups. If you zoom into H4 time frame, that's it. And let me update or draw another zone right there. For the bulls to take over, I would like to see a break above this high. Meanwhile, we are bearish and we can still trade lower, form a new high, and then break it upwards. On Doge, a demand zone, if you want, that's it. That's a new demand, fresh one. A new demand zone from weekly time frame. And anyway, you can see it better from daily. So that's our demand. That's it. And let's go and draw it as a level around 0.6. And you are currently around the support zone right there around 0.07. So 0.07 and 0.06. Let's go for green for this one. That's it. We are currently here around support, looking for buy setups. As you see, multiple rejections from it previously. And if you want, we can make an offset for it like this. Okay? If you break it down, we'll be expecting further bearish movement till this demand zone. And if you break it down, I'll be looking for buy stops here. For now, around the support, we are looking for buy stops already. For the bulls to take over, I would like to see a break above this last high, as you clearly see around 0.08. In this case, we'll be expecting further bullish movement. Of course, you can also zoom into lower time frames and look for a short-term buy setup. For example, that's our last high. Okay, Mark, hello Mark, Crypto Cats, hope you're doing good, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or in the members talk area. I would be happy to help. Hello Mark, of course, we'll go over Solana in a bit. Talent vision, happy that you are happy. Yeah, exactly. The approach is very simple. Everyone can apply it. You just need to you just need to be patient, especially when a coin or token is getting like more attractive, cheaper around the demand. So don't ever like just buy blindly because it's cheap or because it's around a very strong support. Okay, always wait for extra confirmation. Wait for the bulls to take over first, which is by breaking above the last major high. Joseph, hope you're doing good. We went over Galatasaray as usual, so whenever you can watch the recording. But long story short, we are bullish now because we broke above the last major high that we had from daily, and now every retest bearish movement would be a correction, and you can look for buy setups on the retest of it. Let's check Solana, add it to, here we go. If you want me to go for any other altcoin, let me know, and I would be happy to do it as well. For now, let's go over Solana. Let's take a sip. Cheers. This one isn't looking good, as you clearly see. Already around around where it was like 1 or 2 years ago. Around round number 10, which is a strong one. If broken downward, we still have the round number 5. If broken downward, it wouldn't be good. Expect a movement to the 1 or 2. For now, I don't like how we broke below this low. And we are currently around the 10. We haven't really break below the 10 yet. It's just wicks and small candles. If we see a big candle like this from H4, then expect the 10 to be to be breached, and expect further bearish movement till around the 5. Okay, that's why you see my alert right there. Also have two alerts here for the bulls to take over from a short-term perspective by breaking above these highs and next above this high. So let me very short-term like high and then a short-term high. and then we'll be expecting a bullish movement from here till inside this zone back. This is a minor resistance now, previously as support, as we already know from H4. And if you remember that previously we were here, and like I said, that if we break this one down, we'd expect further bearish movement till the 10, and if we break this one upward, expect a movement till the 20. And if you want, anyway, I already also have it. I guess it's somewhere here. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So for the bears to take over, we need to see a break below this one. In this case, a movement till the 10. Where is it? Or would be expected. I'm not really sure where is it, but the 10 is right there, and the 20 is right there. Okay. So unfortunately, we had the break. We traded lower. We are currently here. So that's it. If you want a specific altcoin, please let me know. I would be happy to do it. Meanwhile, let's move forward. Next, we've got Mask. On Mask, we are approaching a support zone, previously a resistance, now a support, and we are approaching the support again around 2. If we break the 2 downwards, expect a movement to the 1.5, 1.25 around this support zone, and also a demand area. For now, let's take it step by step around this area, looking for buy setups. For the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above this last major high. I also, like on my personal charts, I have this channel, okay, and I have an alert right there as well, okay. So for the bulls to take over, we need to see this. In this case, a movement higher would be expected. Meanwhile, we can dive inside the zone before trading higher, or even break it downward and then expect further bearish movements. Near, also very similar analysis around this demand zone, round number 1, which is a massive round number. That's why I have already my alert right there. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I would like to see a break above the 1.9, the last high, trend line, and so on. If you go lower from a short-term perspective, this is the last major high from H4. I would like to see a break above it. We'll be expecting a short-term bullish movement. And then if we break above the 1.9, expect this big bullish movement. MKR, a very, very similar analysis. 500 is a massive round number indeed, also the lower bound of this demand, and we are currently approaching this 500. If we break it downward, a movement to the 350 would be expected. For now, for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I would like to see a break above this high. Meanwhile, from a medium-term or short-term perspective, this is the high that I'm looking at. Of course, until the buyers take over, we are bearish and we can still trade lower and lower. Sustain Empire, glad to see you here. Hope you're doing good. On XMR, we have been stuck inside this range. So like this one is standing strong. Like at least it's not melting, like many similar altcoins. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I want to break above the 200. In this case, we'll be expecting a bullish movement. It would be a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. For now, this is just a correction movement. It's a flat one. If you break below the 100, expect further bearish movement till the 50, lining up with this lower trend line. And that's it. I can't really say much. I will be waiting for it to go this deep to look for buy setups, or break above this high to expect a movement inside the 200. If you break the 200, expect a bullish movement upward. Bukarik, glad to see you here. Cheers. Yeah, right. Exactly, Bukarik. I saw it in the general group. I'm glad you made it. Hope you're doing good. Okay, Bukarik. Wishing you a lovely night. You can always watch the recording whenever you are free. Make a cup of coffee or tea and enjoy it whenever you are free. Yeah, I'm doing great, Bukarik. Hope you too. Okay, let's move forward. If you want me to go over a specific altcoin, let me know in the members talk or ask any questions. I would be happy to answer it. Okay, Polkadot. On weekly, we can clearly see a demand zone as well, looking for buy setups inside the zone. And you can see many alerts already. From a long-term perspective, I would like to see a break above this channel. For now, we are trading the short-term view, and we can clearly see that we've got this high right there. If broken upward, we'll be expecting a short-term bullish movement inside the zone, and then we'll need to see a break above the 5 for the bulls to take over. So that's it, short term, medium term, and then we'll be expecting a bullish movement upward. And if we break above the 7, we'll be expecting a long-term bullish movement. For now, unfortunately, we are bearish from a long-term and short-term perspective. Let's take a sip. Okay, let's move forward. We've got flow. Okay, can't really say much. We even broke below this low. I tried to search for many tickers. I can't really see much data. For this one, I have my alert here around the 0.5. Let's throw it anyway. That's it. And my alert above this high right there. Let me zoom in and show it to you. That's it. For the boost to take over, we need to see a break above it. It would be from a short-term perspective. We'll be expecting a movement till the 1 on Shiba. We are back around this previous demand zone, which is a massive one. It would be at the entire zone right here from, if you want, 7. If you go to daily, we can see it even better. That's it. Okay, so this was also the previous low right there, and look at how big this movement was from the 0.7. Let me see. It was like 130%. So from around the 0.000007. So I'll be looking, of course, for buy stops around this area. And for the bulls to take over from a medium-term perspective, I would like to see a break above this 0.1. We'll be expecting a bullish movement. From a shorter-term perspective, that's the last high that I would like to see a break above for the bulls to take over and push till around the 0.0001. Meanwhile, I'm expecting a bearish movement till around this area. Okay, let me see if Bukarik is still here. No, he left because he said he's busy. So Bukarik, when you are watching the recording, like you always request Reef. So let's do it. So that's it, 0.001 a round number. If we trade low, we'll be looking for buy setups. Now around the 0.0025. And we unfortunately broke a downward, we broke below this low. For the bulls to take over now, we need to see a break above the previous high. We previously had this one, and now we have this one. That's it. That's my alert. Meanwhile, if we trade lower, I have my alert here around 0.002. That's it. Okay, next we've got Telcoin. Okay, a Sustain Empire requested algo. I guess we went over algo, right? What is it? Oh, we went over a big list. Yeah, we went over algo, but yeah, since no much requests today, let's add it below tell, and I will do it again. Okay. Okay, minus 72. Wow. Okay, we are going lower. Nice. Okay, I have my alert right there, so I'm expecting a movement till this area where I will be looking for a kind of rejection, as I mentioned from H4 and daily for those who were here at the beginning. Okay, and as mentioned for Bitcoin, we need to see a break below this zone. If we break it down, we'll be expecting further bearish movement. For now, we are still holding around this area, very similar to Ethereum. Okay, let's move forward to Telcoin. Spain Empire XLM, of course, let's add it. We haven't went over XLM yet. That's it. Here we go. Algo XLM next. So Talcoin, after this big bullish movement, after break above this high, retest, trade higher, we are currently retesting all the way down. For the bulls to take over now, we need to see a break above this high. I previously had it here, and now I updated my high to be this one, as you can see from my alert. Meanwhile, if we break below the zone again, we'll be expecting further bearish movement. Let me go for this alert instead of this. Okay, if we break it down, we'll expect further bearish movement till this area, demand zone, and so on, multiple aggressive movements upward, where we'll be looking for buy setups. This is for tell. On Algo, we went over this one, but as per the request of Sustain Empire, we are diving inside this support and demand zone, looking for buy setups, and the lower bound is around this 0.1. We previously broke below this support, retested it, and we traded it lower. We have been bearish since then. On H4 time frame, for the bulls to take over from a short-term perspective, I would like to see a break above the 0.17. In this case, a movement till the 0.2 would be expected. And then for the bulls to remain in control, I would like to see a break above the 0.2. In this case, a movement till the 0.3 would be expected. For the bulls to take over here from a long-term perspective, I would like to see it diving back inside this gray zone around 0.3. That's it for Algo. On XLM, also around the 0.075. If you break it downward, we'll be expecting a movement till the 0.04. Why 0.045? Let's go for 0.05. 5, not 4. Oops. Okay, that's it. And here we go. It's at a big channel. And for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I'm speculating a movement till the 1, a new high to form here, and then a break above this high, and then we can say that now we are bullish. For now, we are just trading the correction, so we are trying to catch this movement. If you go to H4, can't really say much except that we have been bearish since then. Look, no high has been broken upward for a long period of time since here, right? No high has been broken upward, and and like I've been following this one for a while. So I had my zone here, then here, then here, here, and so on, all the way till this area. I'm waiting for this high. That's why you see my alert here. If we break it upward, we'll be expecting a short-term bullish movement as a correction till around the 0.1. Okay, so you're asking about, I guess, about Telcoin. Let me see. 0.0018. Yep. Here, if we break it downward, yeah, we'll be expecting further bearish movement. That's the view from daily. And I don't like how this low has been broken. So if you break it downward, expect a bearish movement. So now we're expecting lower lows and lower highs until the bulls take over by breaking above the high, and the current high is currently here. Okay, let's move forward. On Theta, I'm expecting a movement to this lower bound. This is the best case scenario to me, the best area. Lower bound of this demand zone around 0.5 round number as well. So this one here would be massive to look for buy setups. From a long-term perspective, I'm waiting for a break above this big major high. Of course, like this is like it would take time and a lot of effort from the buyers to break it. For now, from a short-term perspective, for the bulls to take over, I want to see a break above this minor support and resistance. In this case, a movement till the 1 would be expected, where I have my alert as well. So these are my 3 alerts around the 1, around this high, and around this 0.5 lower bound of this channel. Okay, any more questions? Let me know in the comment section. We still have like 5 to 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I'll try to go over as many as possible. On IOTA, 0.15 is a strong support, as you see here, multiple rejections from, of course, 0.1 as well if you want to make an offset for it. So 0.15, 0.1, and we are currently around the lower bound of this big channel. That's it. Now this one is no longer effective. Let's delete it. And for the bulls to take over, as you can see from my alerts, I'm waiting for a break above this high. It would be a short-term bullish movement till around this previous lows and highs here and the upper trend line in orange. XTZ already around this sorry, this previous all-time low for at least from this chart from 2019. If you go to daily time frame for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, I was waiting for this break. Now I'm waiting for this one. And here we go. Like, this is the power of waiting for extra confirmation. Okay. From a short-term perspective, if we zoom into H4, this is the last current high that I would like to see a break above. Once we have this break, we'll be expecting a movement to the 1, and then once we have a break above this high, 1 and previous high, upper brown trend line from daily, we'll be expecting a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. For now, we are of course bearish. Cheers. If you have any questions, let me know. On Dago, I have it on my list. I personally don't trade this one, but since someone requested it, I have it here. So inside this big range, as you see, for the bullish takeover from a long-term perspective, I want to see a break above the 4.5. In this case, further bullish move would be expected. Meanwhile, you are trading inside this range. As we approach this one, we'll be looking for buy setups. So I can't really add much. We'll be looking for a movement like this. Meanwhile, also this one is a minor support and resistance. Let's extend it. For the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above this high right here. Okay, so lower lows and lower highs. We want to see a break above this for the bulls to take over and prove to us that they are strong enough to break at least a high. Okay, on Lena. Okay, I was waiting for this to happen, didn't happen. So let's delete it. And lately we have this high right there, waiting for a break above it. We broke below this low, which I don't like. Let's delete it. And can't really say much. In fact, so yeah, for the boost to take over, I still need to see a break above a high. This is it for now. And we also have a shorter term one, as you can see in orange right there. So I will go over two more. And meanwhile, if you have any questions or want to go over a specific one, let me know. If not, that would be it. So the two more would be AVAX, demand zone, support area, round number 10, looking for buy setups. Long-term perspective, that's it. But now, of course, I will update it to be this one. That's it. Now, as we approach the 10, we'll be looking also for buy setups. And that's the last high that I'm waiting for from a short-term perspective for the bulls to take over. Meanwhile, I'm expecting a movement till around the 10. The last one, of course, unless you request an altcoin, weekly around this previous all-time low around 0.05, which is also a strong round number, as you see here, 0.05. I don't know why it's 6. That's it. So I have my alert right there. And I also have, for the boost takeover from a long-term perspective, I want to break above this high. And from a shorter-term perspective, as you see from my alerts, I have it right there. That's it. Meanwhile, I'm expecting a bearish movement till around the 0.05. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. We still have many DJ. Glad to see you at the end. Mac, Mark, Sustain Empire. Happy to see you all here, and I wish you a happy new year in advance. In case like we don't talk here, so wishing you a lovely night. Thank you so much, Mac. Sure, DJ. Wishing you a lovely night as well. And as usual, cheers. Be safe, trade safe, and I'll see you hopefully next week, same day, same time. Goodbye, everyone.